Hi everyone, hopefully you can hear me. Thanks a million for coming along today. As Matt already said, my name's Paddy and I'm from Ireland. I know that's a big shock. Um, I'm here today to talk to you about UX and something a little bit different called customer success. To start with, I suppose I work for Optimal Workshop. We have a suite of usability tools that helps sort of improve your website navigation. We're a software, and in that role, that's where the customer success side of things really comes from. And today I want to talk to you about how, with our tools, we try and improve the user experience for researchers, for architects, etc. And I want to show you how there's a massive amount of crossover between that user experience and customer success in what I work from, and how it becomes really the ultimate tag team. So if anyone doesn't know these two guys, that's the Dudley Bros from WWF, the good old days. And so yeah, on to, oh, I forgot the wee thing, sorry. Here we go, got it. So whenever I said customer success, maybe a few of you scratched your heads and thought to yourselves, what is that? This guy just made up a role for himself. Sometimes I feel like that too, trust me. But what customer success is, well, everyone here, be it architects, designers, developers, anything along those lines, what you're doing is you're trying to build a product, a tool, or a service in order to make others' lives easier. So make the consumer's life easier, make that customer's life easier in some form or fashion. And customer success comes in towards the end of that whenever there is a usable product. And we demonstrate the usefulness of that tool. We demonstrate the value of that service, and we provide support as well, because a customer can't be successful if this tool isn't functioning how it should be functioning. So support's a very important part of it as well. And all in all, obviously through customer success, you're trying to, the only way the customer can gain success is through that positive user experience. So because we're quite new to customer success in Optimal Workshop, we wanted to try and do a bit of research into exactly what it was. Because we were so new to it and we worked in a research company, we thought, well, let's find out what it is. So we looked at companies who did it really well. So that was organizations who were using customer success, or getting customer success, through a very positive user experience. And that was companies like Wistia, Intercom, even Slack, again, making their customers successful through that tool or service. But as well as that, we didn't want to just take a carbon copy about what these people had done, what these fantastic organizations had created. So we started looking at people who did it very badly as well. So had a very bad user experience, therefore their customers were not successful in any shape, form or fashion. It's kind of dangerous whenever you start talking about organizations who do things badly, especially in this sort of presentation environment, because I don't know who's in the room. But I think we're safe enough today, because I'm going to talk about John Hammond and his company, InGen. And anyone who doesn't know about that, they created the theme park known as Jurassic Park. So just to give a bit of background of what Jurassic Park was, they had a very novel idea. They wanted their customers to be successful through a positive user experience, through learning about dinosaurs, finding out about this prehistoric time, and then of course being a returning customer. They wanted these people to go away, come back and say, you got to go see Jurassic Park, it's unbelievable, you won't see anything else like it. So they didn't do it well though. The user experience was not positive. There was a lot of issues, including things like there was technical problems from the off, very bad technical issues. You're not going to get a positive user experience if the tools or services aren't working. This Triceratops is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. Second to that then as well, that it's almost impossible to navigate IA system. So what this was Unix. So the Unix system, you had to go through about 17 different levels of content in order to switch on a light, for example, which is not ideal. Also then, the customer support was terrible. Dennis Nedry offered nothing on a customer support level. Hygiene was a big problem. If you can't get hygiene, that's one of the basics, man. You got to get that right from the start. But all in all, what the problem was, there was an issue between that crossover between customer success and user experience. So for instance, there was too much back-end things included where the customer was, which led to having dinosaurs in the lobby, which is not what you want when you have a prehistoric park like this. So customers weren't successful, and many of them were dead. So that made us think, and we looked at all those positives of all the companies that did it right and got that positive user experience, and all the ones that did it wrong. And we decided, we realized how we could make the user experience team and the customer success team, we could make each other's lives abundantly easier by working together. And I'm going to explain how we work together in that form. So to start with, we looked at who the user was. So one thing that our user research team does fantastically is creating those personas. And coming from customer success, I wasn't aware of this until I started working with the user research team. So I started creating personas, and I thought to myself, I work in customer success, so I'm dealing with customers. That's all I'm dealing with. People are going to give me money, they're going to get their tool or service, and that's it at the end of the day. But in fact, who I was talking to, it wasn't a customer. It was who was using our tools. We provide tools that help research, so I'm dealing with researchers. And the more I talk to these people as if they were researchers rather than customers, I could get them onto that pathway to success a lot quicker. So that was the main sort of helping point we had between our user research team and our customer success team. We started to get those personas, and then we could start to channel those personas into the user research team, because obviously they were creating their own personas also, but we could say, you know what, let's stop looking at a customer, let's look at a researcher. So immediately we started helping each other from the off. Second to that then, we also had language. Language was really, really important for us whenever we started talking to these researchers. Not customers, but researchers. There's a very well-known information architect. He does a lot of presentations. He's from Ireland as well, so represent. Called Jerry McGovern, and he speaks about language as well, and how the importance of using specific language within tasks, within a survey, for example. So if you're creating a survey, you don't say to someone, find item 401 cobalt black dress, something along those lines. People don't register with that type of terminology and jargon, so the language is wrong. So instead of us then talking to our researchers like they should know exactly what I'm talking about all the time, and in order to make them more successful, we stripped away the jargon and how we communicated with these people. So instead of saying, okay, you want a tree test, what do you want a tree test? They're like, what, excuse me? And after that then, oh, you want a card sort? Yeah, let's do a card sort right away. And immediately they're kind of saying to themselves, I don't really know what you're talking about, so therefore I'm never going to be successful. So instead you talk to them about the problem, you talk to them as a human, so it's that human-to-human interaction as the researcher to the customer success manager. So it was that language again then we could then bring into our user research team and say, look guys, the way we've been talking to our customers, they like whenever we talk to them about X, Y, and Z, not what you guys have been talking about, this, that, and the other, because in order for them to be successful, they want to be spoken to with this type of language. Next to that then was the desired outcome, and this is really important. It's really important we got that right at the very, very start as a new customer success team. So by realizing where these researchers wanted to go, if anyone uses your tool, your software, your product, they have a reason for using it. They have an objective. There's a reason why they want to use that tool or product. And so that's what we had to get from the off as to why these people were using our tools. So what we did, again, we used our language, we talked to the researcher rather than a customer, and we found out early what they wanted to do in order to get them onto that pathway to success. We wanted them to get on that pathway to success, and more importantly, the right pathway to success. And that was a big thing for us, because then we could go to our user research team, our designers, our developers as well, and say, you know what, our pathway before, yeah, it was useful, it was working, but we keep on spending too much time on feature X. Let's talk about feature Y more, because that's what the researchers are talking to me about. So again, it was that in order to get them to that desired outcome, we had to get them on that pathway. And like, as we all know, any sort of architecture or any sort of user research, that pathway is so important. But As well as having that pathway, it's also important to take into account what that pathway involves to make a customer successful. So something I only learned about quite recently was a thing called friction within that pathway. So there's a well-known UX podcaster called Per Axbaum. He talks about friction and how he challenges that idea that in UX, as an architect or as a designer, etc., you must remove all the obstacles. Any distractions need to be taken out from a researcher, a customer, a consumer's pathway. They need to get from point A to point B as quick as possible. And that's not the case, especially for customer success. Because if we take away that opportunity to stop and breathe, then you're going to end up with the wrong users, the wrong customers. You're just going to end up with all the users, and not everyone needs you at the end of the day. So for instance, there was a cash counting app. They sped that app up so fast so that whenever it was counting the user's money, it was so fast that the users lost all trust. They were saying, that couldn't have done it that fast. I don't trust its accuracy, because there was no friction, there was no chance to breathe within that. Even coming over here, I used a well-known bed and breakfast sourcing app. I don't know if you know it. And I used it to try and find a place to stay here in Wellington, and I was clicking through and searching different places, requesting to see if this place was booked or not. And then I went and looked at my bank account, and I said, I wasn't actually requesting, that was me purchasing the time. So I had 4 places to stay here. So if anyone needed somewhere to stay, you could have let me know. A bit late now, I suppose. But so again, because I was the customer, I wasn't successful, and I was embarrassed. I felt like this lady. I was kind of thinking to myself, I was going to call my son into the room. I don't have a son. I was going to call my grandson into the room and say, where did the clicky thing go? I just felt like, well, do I not know the internet? What's wrong with me? So it was that embarrassment, really, you know. So we took that into account, and we took that into our user onboarding process. So many of our CEOs, our managing directors, our sales teams, etc., they're like, get all the users. We want all the users. Sign them all up. And that's not the case. Because if we get a real positive user experience within that onboarding process, so whenever we create that friction and allow that opportunity to breathe and decide, you know what, do I really need this tool? Therefore, that's going to help you manage expectations between the people who actually need you and the people who are going to sign up, never log on ever again, and just be another one of those customers who you're sending emails to and they're deleting it straight away. They never needed you. And that's what I'm trying to say there. Not everyone needs you, and you don't need everyone. And that's something to take into account on your user onboarding. Get that friction in there. Let the customer stop and think, because you're going to end up with a lot of people who don't need you. Next to that then, as I was mentioned at the start, we do a lot of support and a lot of demonstrations about our tool. And I think this is kind of the most important thing that I can give to the research community. So through support, our customer success team, support has been described as an ongoing usability research tool, because it's never ending. You're getting that negative feedback, you're getting that positive feedback, and you can use that to channel it into your tool to make those improvements, cut out those features that no one uses. As well as that then, demonstrations. That was a big thing for me, because I was doing demonstrations, and be it to one person or be it to 400 people, I was putting our software under pressure in front of people. And that's when you really get to know what really niggles you about your own product, because the pressure's on you to perform. Like I said, in customer success, you're trying to prove the value of what you have to offer. So if you're standing there doing a demonstration and something's taking a little bit longer to load, or the loading thing goes clockwise rather than anti-clockwise, and it's in your head, and previously you thought you'd clicked in the top right corner, but you hadn't clicked there. All these little things are going to niggle that person who does those demonstrations. And if it niggles me as a super user, the person who knows how to use this tool like the back of his hand, imagine the first time that user, that customer, that researcher comes on and starts to use your tool. They're going to really hate it. They're going to get really frustrated from really early on. So one thing I definitely want to say to you whenever you go away today, be it talking to your customer success team, maybe you don't have a customer success team, your sales team, anyone who pitches your software, your tools or service, it's going to be a very, very effective way for you to do research. Because if you ask that person, do you know the last time you did that demonstration, is there anything that really, really grinded your gears? I can guarantee they'll have something for you, and it'll be something that you should definitely change as soon as possible. Because like I said, if it's happening to them, it's happening to those first-time users, and they're going to drop off straight away, and more importantly, they're not going to be successful. But all in all, that's what I wanted to give you, that insight, that there is that crossover between us and our customer success team and you guys as researchers, architects. We can help one another. We can make each other's lives abundantly easier. But that's all for now, and I just want to say thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you all again soon.